medical assistance in dying report in Canada. Yes, very dark. We've taken a dark turn. Medical assistance in dying in Canada report for 2023 just came out. I don't know why it takes them an entire year to get out these numbers for the previous year, but nonetheless, it's come out and it has increased. What a surprise. Surprise that is. Now, it has not increased as much as it has in the previous year, which they're touting, but it's still increased nonetheless. So I want to tell you how they categorize this stuff, and we'll look at some of the statistics. So they do it by tracks. I think personally a lot of this information is designed to confuse people because in this report, they don't really just give you a list of terms right off the top. I don't think they go with just right into a bunch of tabs and lists, bulleted lists and everything. But they split it up into two tracks. We're going to talk about it here for a couple seconds, and then we're going to show you the statistics from it. So track 1 applies to people whose natural death is reasonably foreseeable. It has fewer procedural safeguards and a shorter assessment period, 10 to 15 days. That's right, you heard it. If they think that you are eligible to die, it's 10 to 15 days you can get your request through. Track 2, however, applies to people whose natural death is not reasonably foreseeable. This track has more stringent procedural safeguards and longer assessment period, a minimum of 90 days. So even if they think that your death is not reasonably foreseeable, they'll still let you do it. So that's point 1. That's barrier number 1 of the sickness here, that, people will argue that they should be allowed to do it. I'm not one of these people who thinks the government should help you die, personally. Strange, crazy guy. But track 2, where they said it's not foreseeable, they're just like, well, we don't think you're going to die, but we're going to help you kill yourself anyways. Very dark stuff. So we get to the numbers here again from 2023. And they, very persuasive language here. The vast majority of MAID provisions, 95% were individuals in track 1. 4% were in track 2. So 622 people. Again, we go back to this where it says those whose natural death is not reasonably foreseeable. So we can't see you dying naturally in the near future. 622 people were still allowed to get killed, helped with their death. How do you want me to describe it? It's weird anyway. 622 people were helped to die by the government. Now we have some lovely graphs for you. Yes. So these are the age groups that died. These male and female. So track 1, you have, a good 14-15% of people under 64 years old. And then again, these are the people that they said were eligible. I'm sure that's going to expand. I promise you it's going to expand to include more of these things so that these numbers don't seem as bad because the government doesn't actually love you. I'm confident, let's go 85% confident that they are going to start including more things in the reasonable or somewhat reasonable future where they can see a person needing this, if you can call it needing it. But the vast majority are 65 years and older, but there's still a strong contingent of around 15% of people under 65 and 3.5% of people 18 to 54. Now the people who, it's not foreseeable that they're going to die soon, again, dark disturbing stuff here. 10%, 11.2% of these people are under 54 years old, and the government's saying, we don't think that you need to die. We don't think you're going to die in the near future, but, 15 or 11.2% of you, we're going to let you do it anyways. And then under 64 years old, we get up to 24% there, 23.4%. is what we get for that age group. So this is insane, right? Then we go by sex as a percentage of sex and by which track. So it's more males that are doing it, 51% overall. More men are also doing it in the foreseeable death category of track 1. But this is strange, isn't it? Almost 60% of women is the ratio. 60 to 40 here, 58.5 to 41.5 for those listening. 58.5% make up the women in track 2 who don't necessarily have a foreseeable death. So that's interesting. Why do women who likely aren't going to die, this again by the government's methodology, why are they more so the ones that want to do it? I don't know. I think that they look at these numbers and they say, we spend X amount of dollars keeping people who are terminally ill alive. Let's give them the chance to be unalived so that we can save money. I think that's what the real thing is. And I think, like you've seen in the UK, people will begin to be told that they don't deserve medical assistance because we are in a socialistic medical program. And I think you will also see, like you see in the Netherlands, the age will be lowered, and other countries across Europe, where in Switzerland, where you will be able to get alternative means, like the suicide pod, to be able to use. And in the Netherlands, you can get this service at literally any age. Literally any age. You might need parents' permission from ages 1 to 12, maybe. But what if we just cross over the law where, a transgender or a child that thinks it's, a different gender, says that they want surgeries or hormones, and the parent says no, and the government's like, okay, the parent's going to jail for denying that. That's a thing in Canada. But right now, you need parental permission in these other countries. We're not far off from saying, hey, how dare you say no to this kid? This is their own health care, like they say with hormones and transgender care or health care. What do they call it? Gender affirming care, where you're not allowed to disobey your child when they request it. How far away are we from that? For MAID services, I don't think we're very far. So I think that this report, and they said something like 15%. I'll bring that up. The number of MAID provisions in 2023. Sorry, I'm going to make it bigger there for you. Represents an increase of 15.8% over 2022. This represents a slowing over previous years, which had an average growth rate of 31%. So we were only growing by a third, but we've still grown by 15.8% of those people who want to get government-assisted suicide. And they're like, hey, this is less than before, but they still also admitted it is not yet possible to make reliable conclusions about whether or not these findings represent a stabilization of growth. I think it'll continue to increase every year. Maybe it'll level off at around 20,000, but that's an insane amount of people dying per year in a smaller country. A lot of people support this. It's strange to me. It's strange to me that you want to pay tax dollars to help people die. That's very strange to me. And I'm never going to get on board with this. I'm never going to say that we should give the government the power to kill, because it will quickly become abused and quickly spiral out of control, which it has in Switzerland and the Netherlands, where, again, the Netherlands, any single age, you can apply for this sort of thing.
Turn it up, Jordan.